Hello, my name is Paige. This is my channel, Paperbacks and Lattes, and today I will tell you the top 20 books that I read in 2020. So I have read a lot of great books in 2020, and it was so hard to narrow it down to 20, but I did. These are 20 great books that I read for 2020. They are not in a particular order because I don't ever rate my books like my least favorite because I don't know if I could do it. There's just so many great ones that I'm like, how can you choose? But I will let you know my top read, my number one top read for 2020. But other than that, they're in no particular order. So my top read for 2020, my most favorite, is Groupie by C.M. Stunage. This is the first book in the Rock Hard Beautiful series. This is a Rockstar Reverse Harem series, and I absolutely adore it. I can't really give you a reason except that I just love the characters. This follows Lilith, and she is just in a terrible place in her life. Her dad has just died. Her mom has died previously. Her boyfriend was cheating on her, and now she is homeless. She has nowhere to go, and she ends up coming to this concert where she accidentally wins a VIP pass, and there she, meets all the members of this band, and they invite her back to the bus, and since she really has no place to go and is just overcome with grief, she tours, with this band, and each of the band members comes from a very, a very hard background. Each one of them has things they have to deal with, and it just like brings them all together. And I love each one of the band members. They're all so different, and they bring, each one brings a unique personality to character to the book, and I just love this book and this whole series. I just love it so much. So I won't spend too much time on each one since I do have 20 to get through, but that is my number one read for 2020. Next is Wolf Song by TJ Klune. This is the first book in the Green Creek series. I absolutely love this one as well. This follows Ox and Joe. Ox has had kind of a rough time. His dad left when he was little, and he is just suffering from these like abandonment issues. And he meets Joe when Joe's family, moves to their small town, and they instantly become friends. Joe is just very taken with Ox, and Ox later comes to learn that they are a family of wolf shifters. And this is a paranormal romance, and it's a male-male romance, and this is the romance between Ox and Joe, and I just love it so much. And I love the writing. It was such a different style of writing than I am used to, but I loved it so much, and this was definitely one of my favorites for 2020. The next book is Credence by Penelope Douglas. This was some people liked it, some people didn't. It's pretty much if you either hate it or you love it. This ended up on my 2020 list, top 2020 list, so of course you know that I did love it. This is about a girl who is suddenly, she is suddenly orphaned. Her parents both killed themselves because now she has to go live, since she is 17, not quite 18, she has to go live with her step uncle and her step cousins because he has two sons, and they live like in the wilderness, and she ends up having a relationship with all three of them, but it's not quite a reverse harem. It's almost kind of like it, but not quite, because she does end up with one of them. But this was a very interesting book. I've never read anything like it, and I really liked it. The next one is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. I love this one. This is an age gap. This centers around Jordan. She has a boyfriend. and he's really not that great to her. They are living in this apartment. She's like keeping them afloat with her job. He's just parties and, you know, is not very responsible, and she's going to school. But something her boyfriend does, he trashes the apartment, and they are kicked out, and so they have to go live with her boyfriend's dad. And while they're living with her boyfriend's dad, she realizes that, you know, she really likes her boyfriend's dad. They have insane attraction and chemistry with each other, and this is such a slow burn because nothing happens between them until a lot later in the book. And there is no cheating. Her and her boyfriend, they are, you know, split up before, you know, anything happens between Jordan and the dad. But this was such a good age gap romance. It's the best one I've ever read, and I loved it so much. The next one is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. The heroine moves to this small town, and there she meets Archer. He is like the town loner, the town recluse, because he's deaf, and everybody just avoids him. There's also a lot more to his family life. When you know, read this book, you'll understand more why he's like the town loner. But he lives off with, you know, to himself, and she is able to sign with him because her father was deaf, and they strike up a friendship turn romance, and it was so good. I love this one so much. The next one is Frayed Silk by Ella Fields. This one was a very hard-hitting emotional book, and if you don't like cheating, you will not like this book because there is cheating in it. This is about the hero and the heroine are married, and they are absolutely in love. They have had a wonderful marriage. They have 2 children, but something happens to where he just stops, you know, talking to her. He pretty much just kind of shuts the door on their marriage and pretty much gives up, except he still has some things to do with his kids, and he, you know, he continues to work, but he's just like the shell of the man that she once knew. And she is just heartbroken over this, and she has tried everything she can to reach out to him, and she finally tells him, you know, she wants a divorce. And there she meets another guy at this food bank she volunteers at, and they have, you know, she's missing that love in her life, and so he is willing to give it to her, and so she has an affair with him, and then things are brought out to light why, you know, her husband did that to her, why he, you know, kind of shut her out of his life. And this book is just, this story just centers around forgiveness and second chances, because we all make mistakes. We're all human, and things are not always perfect, but there are second chances. And once a second chance is given, you know, you can still have a very wonderful life. And I love this one so much. The next one is Behind the Bars by Brittany C. Cherry. This revolves around Elliot and Jasmine. Elliot is this nerdy boy who also plays his saxophone, and he is very badly bullied in high school. And Jasmine has just come to public school. She's been homeschooled because her mom has tried to like keep her at home because she has her in so many different activities with trying to develop a career for her as a pop singer. And her mom is just trying to push her into something that she is not, because she loves to sing soul music. And so they meet in high school, and they form a friendship turned, you know, romance. And then something happens to where Jasmine's mom moves her away, and then there is a terrible tragedy that happens in Elliot's life, and they meet back up years later, and Elliot is just kind of the shell of the man that she once knew, but Jasmine is like his lifeline, his support in life, and she slowly draws him back out, and this was like their second chance romance. It was amazing. Love Behind the Bars by Brittany C. Cherry. The next one is Hero by Lauren Rowe. This is the first book in the Morgan Brothers series. This book follows Colby. He is a firefighter, and he is injured when he gets trapped in this burning house. And when he is in the hospital recovering, he meets his physical therapist and is instantly attracted to her. And this is their romance. She is a widow. She used to be married to a police officer who was killed in the line of duty, and she has 3 children, and she's a single mom, and this is her romance with Colby. I loved Colby stepping in to, you know, loving her kids, not trying to take the place of their dad, but just being that rock that they need in their life and loving her. I just love this one so much. The next one is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hong. This is the first book in her The Kiss Quotient series, and this revolves around the heroine has autism, and she hires this male escort because everything in her life she excels at except for relationships. And so she wants to kind of like be tutored and be trained on how to have a successful relationship and, you know, the intimate parts that go with it. And so she hires Michael, and they start to like date, and he shows her like what it is to be, you know, in a relationship. But then feelings get involved and they both fall for each other, and I love this one so much. The next book is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I can't really go into what the second book is without spoiling it, but this is a fantasy romance series about this girl. She's human, and she has to go live with the Fae because she accidentally killed one of the Fae members, and she ends up living in the Fae land. And there is so much to this series, and I can't tell you the reason why I love the second one so much. So just know that, you know, if you do decide to read it, the second one is my favorite, and in the ones who have read it, you know why. So this is just so wonderful. I love this book so much. The next one is On the Island by Tracy Garvis Graves. This was really unique, and I really liked it. This was about a girl who is a tutor to this teenage boy. He has had cancer, and so he has fallen behind in his studies. And so they hire her for the summer, you know, to go. They're like going away to this island for the summer, and they hire her to be his tutor to like catch him up in his school. And they are, for a particular reason, they are on a separate plane, and their plane goes down into the ocean, and they crash on this deserted, you know, this remote island. And there they have to survive for like 3 or 4 years, and they don't know if they will ever make it back home. They go through a lot of hardships just trying to survive on this island. They are all, him and her are who they each other have, and attraction, you know, feelings form later on down the road when he is of age, and this is their romance. And when they come back to society, how they have to face the, you know, societal views of, you know, what's right and what's wrong. And this, you know, she's older than him, and they wonder if she took advantage of him, and all this thing they have to really, you know, work through all that. And I just love this book so much. The next book is Transcendence by Shay Savage. This is a caveman romance. A girl falls back in time, and in this caveman, he has lost his entire village due to a fire, so he is alone. And then he finds her in one of his traps that, you know, he had set, And he is just so overjoyed at finding her because, you know, he thinks that this is his mate. He is just so excited to, you know, be with another human being. And she has no idea what has happened. She has to learn how to live in this time era. They can't even communicate with each other through like words or signs. It is mainly on, you know, facial expressions and body language. And this was their romance. This is all through the eyes of him. There is a novella that follows this from a little bit from her point of view, but I love this one so much. It's such a sweet romance, and I had to put it on my top 20. The next one is Hearts and Thorns by Ella Fields. This is the third book in her The Magnolia Cove series. And I love this one. This is a stepbrother, stepsister romance. So a very taboo, but it was beautifully written. They grow up with each other, but you know, they never are quite satisfied with anyone else. And then once they're in their teenage years, they realize, you know, that they are, they love each other, as they've always been around each other, and they're attracted to each other, and they aren't technically related. And so they decide to have a romance, and so they have to hide it. But when it does, you know, accidentally be found out that they are in a relationship with each other, it is, everybody is very upset. They separate them, and then this huge misunderstanding happens, so where they are split apart, and then years later they come back together. And I love this one so much. I had to include it. I know it's very taboo and a lot of people won't understand, but this is just all for fun and entertainment anyway. But I love that this had a lot of slow burn in it, and a lot of longing, and a lot of just wanting to be with the person that you're in love with, but everybody tells you that it's wrong. But you can't help it because you just feel this intense love for the other person. And I just really like that. So I had to put this on my top 20 list. The next one is This Silent Waters by Brittany C. Cherry. This is in the Element series. I think it's the first one in the Element series, but this is centers around this little, they start as children. They're friends, and something terrible happens to the little girl. She witnesses something terrible, and she never speaks again, and she never leaves her house. Like once she gets to her house, she never leaves it again, because this has just, you know, kind of like messed up her mind. And he is still her best friend throughout all the years, and he comes by her room every day because her brother is also, you know, he's friends with her brother too. And whenever they, you know, they live right next door to each other, and every day before school, he comes by her room and asks her, you know, how she's doing, how she's okay. They share music with each other, and then it just shows them growing up. And then he forms this band, and then he goes to become famous, and she is still just kind of stuck. She's just still living her life at home, and then something terrible happens to him, and she has to be there for him, you know, since he has been there for her all of these years. And I just love this one so much. I loved the friendship that they shared before even anything romantic happened. It's just such a wonderful story. You just cannot go wrong with any book by Brittany C. Cherry. The next one is the Roosevelt Duet. I had to include the duet together, but the first one is Carrie the Ocean. This is by Heidi Cullinan, and this is about Emmett and Jeremy, and they meet when they are teenagers. Jeremy's family comes to live like right across the street from Emmett's family, and Emmett has autism, and Jeremy suffers from severe anxiety and depression. And Emmett is immediately attracted to Jeremy. Emmett is openly gay, and he's not sure about Jeremy, but you know, he wants a friendship with him. So they form up this friendship, and Jeremy doesn't come from a very supportive family, and he really loves spending time with Emmett and his family because, you know, they just, include him and are accepted of him. And this is their romance. It is so good. I love it so much. I just love that the love that they share, and also with everything that they have to face on a daily basis. And I just loved it so much. The next one is the What He Always Knew duet by Candy Steiner. I technically read the first book in the duet in 2019, and the second book in the duet was the first book I read in the year of 2020. And this is it's like a love triangle. This man and woman who are in this marriage, they have had a lot of struggles in their marriage. They have had miscarriages, and they have just like grown away from each other. And then this new teacher comes to work at the school that she's a teacher at, and it's actually somebody she knew from her past who she used to be infatuated with. And he walks into her life, and it's suddenly like a breath of fresh air for her. And so she has to struggle whether, to go to this guy, who openly loves her and adores her, or stay in this marriage that, is struggling. And of course, I cannot tell you how it ends, or that would be a huge spoiler, but the second book, ultimately reveals what choice she makes. And I just love this duet so much. The next one is another duet. This is the Full Tilt duet by Emma Scott. This was a heartbreaking duet to read, but also so very good. So this is about a girl who is in this band, but she is suffering from, addiction to alcohol. And being in this band is just not working for her. She wants a more simple life. She doesn't like the person who she is. And Jonah is the limo driver, and he drives her and her band to and from the venue. And then at the end of the concert, she is just so wasted that her bodyguard just kind of puts her in the car and tells him to drive her back to her place. But there's no one there, so he doesn't want to leave her by herself when she is so vulnerable. And so he takes her back to his apartment, and she stays with him a few days, and he's just like a breath of fresh air for her. He is what she needs and who she wants. And this was their romance. This was such a heartbreaking read. There is a lot of emotional things in this elements in this book, and I cried so hard reading this book, but it was so worth it too. But when you read the first one, you immediately have to read the second one just to, ease some of that heartbreak that you feel. And the last one, number 20, but it's definitely not my least favorite, but it's the last one on the list, is Inked in Lies by Gianna Darling. This is the 6th book in the Fallen Men series. This is a motorcycle club series, and this follows Nova and Lila. I think it's Lila. And they meet when this is an age gap. Pretty much all the books in this series are age gaps. But Nova is 16 or 17 when they first meet, and she's 5. And she and her brother come from a very bad home life. Their mother is addicted to substances, and her father is a drug dealer. And he is just there for Lila when her brother tries to protect her from everything, but he's there for her when her brother cannot be. And then something happens to where they're put in foster care, and then Nova does at the beginning of the book, his given name is Jonathan, but Nova is his club name. But Jonathan does, he quits school and gets a job so that way his family can afford to foster them. And so they give them a family and give them a home, that they've never really had before. And they grow up with each other, and Jonathan/Nova joins the motorcycle club. And he's also a tattoo artist, and they are just best friends growing up. And then she realizes that she wants more from him. he first rejects her, but you know, and then there's like this rift between them for a couple of years until he realizes that, you know, he made a huge mistake. And so this was their romance. I love this one so much. It's such a great addition to the Fallen Men series, and I'm so glad I read it. Those are all the top 20 books that I read in 2020. Let me know what your favorite reads are. Let me know if you've read any of these, and I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.